Evening. Welcome to an impromptu live stream one-on-one interview with a new client of ours, Ryan Perdue, wide receiver from Washita Baptist University, as well as I think by way of Mississippi Valley State, I believe also. Um, Ryan, how are you this evening? I should say early evening for you, being where you are. We'll talk about that in a second, but
Yes,
how are
sir.
you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, Coach. I can't complain. It's been a pretty good day so far. The sun's starting to really come out over here. The weather's nice, so I can't complain. Life is good.
Well, listen, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I know it's been a little crazy with the technical difficulties and bearing with me on my end. I apologize. Um, uh, been a little under the weather the last few days, and all of a sudden nothing wants to work the way I need it to. So
Yes,
um,
sir. Yes, sir.
I appreciate the patience and the understanding. Talk to us a little bit. We'll just jump right into this. Tell everybody where you're from, where you're originally from. Let's talk about that. Where you played your high school ball, and take us through your college football journey in that timeline, and bring us up to the present day.
Man, I definitely have an unusual journey. I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska. My parents were in the military and they retired in Alaska. I played high school football at Lathrop High School under a great coaching staff, and that's where I played football, a whole life growing up, and got a good foundation in Alaska. Believe it or not, people don't particularly think Alaska when they hear football, but yeah, it's an interesting place. And then after Alaska, I graduated Lathrop High School, 2016, and then went to Mendocino Junior College in California. It's in Ukiah, California, and it was a good experience. I definitely got to play with some very talented players. The junior college scene in California is very competitive. Actually, my very first junior college game played against Josh Allen, but Josh Allen did not play at all. He was the second string or third string. Had no
Wow.
idea he was on the roster. Yeah, so that just goes to show you. I remember seeing somebody super tall and very wide, but he did not play. He wasn't even a starter until later that year. And then I played at Mendocino College for 2 years, and then had to take a gap year. One of my counselors actually assigned me the wrong class because I had accepted a scholarship to Mississippi Valley State, the SWAC conference in Itta Mississippi, and that was a tough time. That was a tough year because I had to go back to California to take one class, and I had a 3.4 cumulative. So I did everything I was supposed to do in the classroom and everything, and worked hard on and off the field, and had a minor setback, due to something that was out of my control, but it built a lot of character. And then the next 2 years I spent in Mississippi Valley after the gap year, came back, took a redshirt year when I first got there, because got there about 3 weeks into the season. There was a coaching change. The coaches that offered me the scholarship weren't the coaches that were there currently, but they were still interested in me, still brought me back on board, and earned a spot in battle, got a spot on the roster, played with many talented players out there. It really molded me to the person and the player I am today. That was where I played some of the best football in the SWAC. And then for my graduate transfer year, I went to Washita Baptist in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, where I got to connect with one of my junior college coaches. And then I played there. And then this past football season, I've just been staying in shape, staying ready for an opportunity to arise. Hanging out with family, and here we are now. Just staying in shape, keeping my spirits high, keeping my mental tough, and just ready to jump at the opportunity given.
Yeah. So, obviously, kind of stepping back to the junior college level, I'm sure the defense, your defensive unit, I'm sure is pretty grateful that they didn't have to see Josh Allen that day, knowing what he's turned into now,
Most definitely.
obviously. And there's no telling he would have been like that back then, but just knowing what he is today, I'm sure it's a relief that he was second or third string at that time.
Most definitely. Read the college. Read the college. It was a pretty competitive game. I believe they got us by about 12 points or so. It was a competitive game. Yeah, he was. I didn't know he was on the sideline until last year or the year before, and I looked it up on the roster. And he definitely was there.
Wow,
He definitely
that's
was there.
crazy.
Yeah.
So let's just back up real quick because I asked you kind of offline and asked some questions, but I want to really bring this to the forefront. Um, Tell us a little bit more about where you're from, um, the life there. Um, Maybe help us to better understand. Um, I don't want to say how would I say it. I guess some of the maybe better help us understand some of the thoughts out there about weather, sunshine, those things that I was asking about. Having a
Yeah.
hard time wording that. Really kind of touch on that a little bit.
So far as football, our high school season, we actually play, I believe it's 2 or 3 games in the summertime, just because it gets so cold. Generally, the state playoffs, and we refer to you guys as the lower 48 because Alaska and Hawaii, and then the other 48 states that are connected. So we call you guys the states or the lower 48. So whenever I refer to that later, that is what I'm referring to. But in the states, y'all's playoffs is, I believe, approximately a month after ours or something like that. Our last games are played in October. Actually, we don't play any football in November. The state
Yeah,
tournament, the state championship is generally October 1st, the first week in October.
yeah,
And then for the youth season, we don't play into November. Also, I believe the latest game is about October 24th. That's when the championship is. But we have to start fairly early just because we never really see a non-white Halloween. Snow generally, especially in Fairbanks, comes before Halloween, so we have to get all of our football out up there. And when we're just training or playing, we have to train in indoor facilities. There's at Fairbanks, there's one. It's on the military base. It's called Elmendorf, and then in Anchorage, there's one in town. So it's a little bit more easier to get to. But yeah, it's definitely different. The summers are beautiful, and it's a good time to play football because we have generally close to 24 hours of daylight. I believe it's 22 and a half to 23, depending on the month. But it definitely has its positives and negatives, for certain.
so you're military dependent. Being a military veteran myself, we refer to it as a military brat, basically.
Mhm.
Um, so you were actually born in Alaska, I guess, during your dad's at some point of his active duty time. Um, what was that like growing up in Alaska? And I don't know, I guess kind of realizing that you're in a place that's a little bit different from most every other state.
That's what was like really crazy about it. I didn't realize it was really any different until I was fortunate enough to venture off and visit my family in Indiana and Chicago and North Carolina and Texas. Then I really got to see, wow, you guys don't see moose in the middle of the road, or we have we have to plug in our cars at night in the wintertime, or else your car may not start. So you see plugs hanging from the front of people's cars, and then generally in the parking lot, there's like a smaller cinder block, and you can plug into that has power hooked to it to keep your car um, warm in a sense. Keep the engine warm because it gets so cold that the metal gets constricted, and then it could just mess up your engine altogether. So like I thought that was a thing everywhere. It's not, I guess. No one
No,
else has to, yeah,
no,
plug
that's
in.
definitely not a thing everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't know until I was able to venture off. Things like that, of course, is more expensive. The $5 foot long in Alaska is like the $19 foot long. Things like that. It is. It's more slow paced. I live in the city. I live in Anchorage, so it's more similar to larger cities in the states, but it's still not quite to the pace that the larger cities in the states are. So far, it's little to breaking it down to like the fast food service, just how fast people work out there to how fast people are just moving in their daily lives.
Right, right. What was it like the first time you saw a moose?
Scary. I was in the third grade. I had walked to school because I lived right in the backyard of the school, and then I had opened the door, and then I'd opened it, and there were just two moose just laying down in the driveway. I was really scared because they're bigger than horse, so and horse is very big. So it was, especially as a younger kid, even still as an adult, it's still intimidating because those things are very very big, and then you see them at the least amount of expected times, like just crossing the street or in the parking lot or anything. And very very big, like I said, and they can jump fences. They're very agile.
So, what happened when you opened the door and you saw him? Did you just turn around and say, "Nope, not doing
Yeah,
this today"?
that's exactly what I did. And then I called the school and let them know I was going to be late to the moose.
what, what, does the,
Vacated the area.
what does the school say when you call and say something like that?
I mean, they've dealt with it for, it's regular to them, especially with them being older. They just said it's okay. Just unfortunately, like you can go to the edge of the school, like the edge of the playground, and see my house.
Yeah.
So a couple of them just stood outside and monitored the situation, and then let me know when it was okay to leave. And they called me and then over. And then I ran super fast. I was scared. I was definitely scared.
Did they bother you, or did they just kind of not pay attention to you, or?
They just looked at me like I was crazy, like I was not where I was supposed to be. Yeah, and it was the moose that are the most dangerous isn't the bull moose, the ones with the horns. It's the mothers when they're with their children, and it was
Yeah.
a mom and a calf. So that's what kind of made me a little bit more nervous because if you go anywhere near the calf, the mom will definitely protect the calf.
Yeah. But in this situation, they were looking at you like, what? Like, you never
Yeah,
seen a moose before?
they were laying down. Yeah, they were just relaxing. So I thought that was, and I wasn't expecting to see that. Like I walked to school all year, so I thought it was just another day, but it was not.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's kind of jump back here again. So you go through the junior college level, um, and you know when you got to JUCO, did you feel like there was a chance you could play at a higher level, or were you concerned that that 2 years might come and go and that would be it, or what was your thought process while you were in JUCO?
I was getting ready to prepare myself to go to a Division 1. I was always like very confident in myself for certain, and I never just looked at anything that I was passionate about that I worked hard at, especially in that specific circumstance, saying, okay, it'll just be these 2 years and then I'll be done, or I'll, just see what happens or see where I can go. You know, Granted, it definitely takes, things rolling in your favor, the dice working out and shaking your way. But I just worked as hard as I could to fit that mold to where I could get myself there. And generally, just in Alaska, we didn't know much about football because from what I learned is if you want a full ride scholarship from a coach, 99% of the time they're sending somebody there to watch you play in person, and no
Right.
one's coming up to Alaska to watch anybody play, especially in my city. So um, people had a general route. There was about two or three of the same Division 3 schools that everybody from my city went to. So that was just, and they came up to a camp called All Alaska Camp. So you'd either go to like one of like those two or three or four Division 3s, and that was kind of it. So the route that I went, one of my friends, he was my quarterback the year before, had done some research on the school, and he was supposed to go there. And then he had connected me with this school. So that's how I got introduced to the California junior college system. And then in football, I was part of that first group that went the junior college route for football in my city. I wouldn't say ever, but definitely in recent memory.
Mhm.
So it was much different because we didn't have anybody to go off of or anybody to talk to personally that went that route. We were just kind of, feeling it out for ourselves. But I'd always definitely stayed focused on what I wanted, where I wanted to get.
So, do you recommend that to athletes coming up now that maybe don't immediately have that D1 opportunity or D2 opportunity to explore the junior college pipeline?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's actually more common now, which is really really cool to see. Um, they're they're filtering through. There's just a couple of the kids from my alma mater that are signing with junior colleges. That's the popular thing now for football players in Fairbanks is for them to go to junior college in California. So I thought that was really cool to see, and they must be having a decent amount of success if the coaches keep recommending them to go there, and it's a good level of competition, and also for Alaska being a different lifestyle, it helps you get accustomed to, living in the states as we call you guys, and
Yeah.
it's easier to adjust also academically, just because the classroom sizes are smaller, so people could be more concentrated. The teacher could be more concentrated on individual students,
Sure. Sure.
and the campus
What
size is also smaller. So,
what's that?
and the campus size is also smaller. It's easier. It's less distractions, I would say.
Yeah. A lot of times, and I found dealing with athletes at the lower levels that, and even going back to, I'm 44, so going back to the days when I was in high school, sometimes the bigger universities can overwhelm a kid.
Absolutely.
I had a friend that um, uh, wanted to play ball at the University of Tennessee. He and another guy that played high school football with me, they weren't offered, of course, by that school, but they went up there just as students. And, I'm not sure if they had intentions of trying to walk on or not, but anyway, they maneuvered themselves to live in the dorm with the athletes, with the football players, and they got the partying and drinking, and they got involved in the just the overall day to day campus scene, and it just kind of swallowed him. And he fell out of college within the first year, and became an alcoholic, and you know had to find himself again, and ended up in the restaurant scene, bartending and doing some other things, and so yeah, the bigger universities can sometimes overwhelm a kid. It can be just too much for them right away, and so junior college with smaller campuses with not such a big spotlight on them can really be good for some kids to take more time to mature and develop. Truthfully, um, I had a chance to send some kids to a couple of different junior colleges, Hudson Valley, um, Independence. I sent a couple of kids to Indy during season 3 of
Kansas.
Last Chance U. Got to know the coaching staff there pretty well. Coach Brown, Kayashi Harris, Jason Martin, some of the coaches there, and had a chance to send a few kids and kind of watch that play out, and of course watch the TV show and got to really understand more about life there, and just life in general about junior college ball, and I think that if any athlete's never really been told about or doesn't really understand junior college football, I think that documentary series is a really good one to watch to really kind of understand and see what that life is like.
Absolutely.
Um, they don't have the resources of the big schools. They don't have the following necessarily or the funding, but they somehow make it work. And like the Mississippi pipeline, it's well known, and the Kansas pipeline for that matter. That's where a lot of the D1 bounce backs go. The kids that get kicked out of school for grades or drugs or
Very
conduct
restricted.
or the various situations they find themselves in. It's a way for them to go into rehabilitate their career and get it back on track again. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the junior college route, truthfully. I just think that not enough coaches and athletic directors and counselors know enough about it to really sit down and tell a student athlete
Absolutely.
what it is that they would get from it. You know, um, having coached high school ball at one time, um, that was something I noticed when I started helping kids with recruitment. Was that our actual counselors didn't know anything. They told me that their job, description was to work with the student population to go to college, not to focus on student athletes and college recruitment. So when I called the NCAA Eligibility Center about our profile on their website and how to look at our online classes, did they translate or not? Nobody knew how to get me logged into it. I had to dig and do my own homework and figure out how to get access to all that. So um, I really became kind of the focal point, even though I wasn't trying to be. I became the focal point for information on all things college recruitment, and so um, I learned a lot during those couple of years handling that stuff. And I've got some buddies that coach high school ball now, and we talk a lot. And that's something they tell me all the time is that there's not enough coaches that take enough time to deal with college recruitment to help their players better understand where they're at in the situation, what their options are, how they go about navigating those waters, what that process looks like over time. And so I think junior college scares a lot of kids because there's not enough insight given to them to help them understand that, you know. And I tell kids all the time, well, how long is junior college? Well, it's typically 2 years, but that really depends on how hard you work, what it is you need specifically from an academic standpoint or a football or whatever standpoint, and how hard you're willing to work and how much time you're willing to put into that. And so I tell them you can be there 6 months, you can be there 10 months, you can be there 12 months, 18 months, who knows? It's just dependent upon you and what you make of the opportunity. And so, yeah, I
Absolutely.
think junior college is definitely a good route for a lot of kids to look at. Um, I think too many kids get caught up in the whole D1 or bust situation. And I think parents don't do a good job encouraging kids to consider other avenues. And this whole D1 or bust mentality finds a lot of kids on the outside looking in, not playing college ball, because they didn't have the right people mentoring them or telling them really what they should do and how to handle it. But um, yeah, so you move on to Mississippi Valley State. So now you enter into the whole HBCU uh, venue of sports, the SWAC, I believe you said. What was that experience like for you?
Awesome. It was it was very, very different just from the game days to the weather to the campus lifestyle to the food to the people, just so far as how they treat you and the hospitality. It was great. It was some tough football. Although I had my ups and downs over there and things didn't particularly go how I wanted them to go on the field wise, but I was still grateful for the experience. And just it was a school I got my degree from, my bachelor's degree from, and made a lot of good connections, played some good football, met some great coaches, some great people, and some awesome competitors. I have no regrets about it.
Knowing that you came out of Mississippi Valley State, I know you had to have been told or you found out at some point there's a very famous wide receiver
The GOAT,
from the
Jerry Rice.
early 1980s, mid 1980s NFL time frame that once laced it up on that particular field. What how what did that do to you, knowing that there's some pretty big shoes to feel coming into Mississippi Valley State that you can't just be an average wide receiver. Obviously, they don't have average wide receivers, or they didn't have an average wide receiver. They had a Hall of Famer that came through there and changed the game at that time. Did you feel like, okay, man, I got some pretty big shoes to fill here. I got to do some really big things here, or
Absolutely, it crosses everybody's mind that goes and plays wide receiver there. And even when I was there was a very talented wide receiver room. Unfortunately, we didn't get to click just from cycling through a number of different quarterbacks and just switching the offense multiple times. But the receivers I play with are extremely talented. The most talented receiver room I've been a part of. So I definitely know they place emphasis on receivers, and it's definitely always in your mind. Especially he would come back to the campus periodically and whatnot, like once a year. I don't believe he's been back there for the last couple of years, to my knowledge, but he would. It's just a great feeling, and the quarterback that threw to him while he was at Mississippi Valley State was the quarterback's coach when I was there. So
wow.
like it was great just being around him, getting to pick his brain, and that definitely added another level of okay, a little bit more tension, a little bit more okay. Coach Totten's here. I have to impress, or I have to work a little bit harder. And just being around him, getting to soak up that knowledge every single day, and being a receiver was also great because I'm not sure if you were aware, they Coach Cooley and the school Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley, they were the first team to run the spread offense the way that is ran kind of in the NFL now, 5 wideouts, 4 wideouts.
Yeah.
They were kind of like the first people to do that. So getting
Yep.
to learn from a coach who played in the first spread offense system as a quarterback was great. It was an experience that not a lot of people really get, and it was just super awesome. It
I'm
was, it
sure
was
film study was quite the show.
yeah. I had a receivers coach there who's actually the head coach at Mississippi Valley now, Coach Wade, Coach Kendrick Wade. He's the best receivers coach I've ever had personally. That dude's a genius. It's the way that he could break down film and make details just seem so black and white. It's just his translation is everything is great, and especially Coach Totten. That coaching was, man, it was one of them. I'm getting kind of excited just thinking about it.
What effect did he have on your game? What piece of advice or coaching did he give you, or what did he um, teach you drill wise or technique wise that just changed the way you play your game?
Coach Totten, he was just very extremely particular about receivers' steps, depths, and where we're supposed to go, especially from a quarterback perspective. The quarterback is taught to throw it in a specific window, in a specific area.
Yeah.
So he was a stickler on being in the right place at the right time, like timing, steps as a receiver. He was very, very key on that. And he was just a tough dude in general. So just being around him and just hanging around him, it kind of just helps you be like, okay, something went south, so what? I'm just gonna keep pushing through. And the best advice he can give me when I was just not remembering the playbook particularly, as well as I should. He just told me, I'm too talented to be messing up plays, and I got to come on and show everybody how talented I am, because he could see it. And that coming from him, just boosted my confidence by a million, like by 100 million, because he's seen talent. So him to believe, that I'm talented, like a combination of all those things, and then just watching him in his daily life and seeing, because the stadium is named after him. So just seeing how loved and embraced he is in the community by every single coach, it was just motivating just on a daily basis. Even when he walks in the cafeteria, it was just awesome.
So how did that change your mindset? I mean, did you go back to your dorm or whatever and really sit down and kind of have a soul searching party and kind of think, coach had these things to say, and how am I going to turn this around? How am I going to prove to him that I heard what he said and I took it seriously?
Just taking his advice when I just asked him, like he answered it very simply, but very directly when I just said, what set Jerry apart from everybody. He said reps. He got in reps on reps on reps on reps. And then when I just heard that, I'm always running routes after practice, before practice, on the off days, on the weekends, in the off season, after practice. Me and a couple of my friends, a couple of my teammates, we're going to the workout. We're going to the weight room directly after practice, and then just doing light stuff, whether it's footwork, like hamstring work, extra push-ups, tennis ball drills, balance, just doing that stuff. And him seeing us do that, he knew we understood him and heard what he said, and he would
Have
come
you
out and show.
tried the Have you tried the famous catch and drills that Jerry Rice's father put him through?
Not with the bricks. No, I haven't tried that
You
yet.
haven't caught bricks yet?
Nah, I haven't. It definitely sounds like it. I mean, obviously it worked for him, so it sounds like it could be effective. Certain. So.
Man, I would think having played at at Jerry Rice's alma mater there that you would have already at least tested the waters of catching breaks.
Yeah, I have not. I caught a lot off the jug machine though, but not the bricks. Not the bricks.
Jerry had a work ethic like none other at that time, and I grew up watching him, and obviously it shows my age a little bit, but yeah, he's one of the greatest to do it. And, have you ever had a chance to actually speak with him? I mean, have you been on campus when he was there, or?
He got there a little bit after I had gotten there, and it kind of hurt. It did hurt, but I have not gotten the chance to speak to him personally, unfortunately.
Gotcha. If you did get a chance to meet him or speak with him, what would you want to ask him? What would you want to get from him?
Man, just on a day-to-day basis, what sets you apart from everybody else, just from a day-to-day basis. And I was asking him to break down the specifics. When things got tough, what helped you push through? What were some ways or some mental tactics or anything that you did? Because everybody second guessed themselves at one point in time, even if for a millisecond. So when that time comes, what gets you through it? What's your method? Just things like that. I'd probably ask him 1,000 questions. Those are just the first couple that come off the top of my head. I'd ask him, I'd go through some of my film with him and then ask him what he believes that I can improve on just from the release to the get off to the breakdown to the coming out of the routes to the speed to the hands to the hand-eye coordination to everything to the footwork, every single thing, to the blocking, to the reading coverages, just every single thing. I'd ask him all those questions, to be honest.
Well, that's interesting to know, and who knows, he may end up seeing this, or this may get around to some people that get it to him in some way, form, or fashion, and maybe that'll happen here in the near future.
That'd be cool. That'd definitely be cool.
In your mindset, having been through the levels that you've been through football wise, what does Ryan feel that Ryan Perdue has to do to continue his football career on a professional level? What do you feel like you need to work on right now most?
Definitely getting a little stronger, putting a little bit more weight on, for certain. It definitely there's always something that you could improve on, even if you're very, very good at it. I could definitely stay lower on some of my breaks for certain, just to come out more smooth, more efficient, give the quarterback a wider window to work with. But certainly the strength, the fundamentals in blocking, and coming out of my routes more efficiently. Sure.
I gotcha. Talking about add weight, just real quick. I know we didn't really touch on it earlier. Where do you weigh in at right now, and exactly how tall are you?
It can fluctuate between 187 to 193, and then I'm 6'3.5", 6'4".
Okay. Where do you think you need to be weight wise?
208, 210, somewhere around there, and just based off how I play my game, how I carry weight, and where I'm at already strength wise.
I got you. I got you. Okay. So let's talk about off-season conditioning. Obviously, you're through college ball now. You're looking for professional opportunities. Um, you become a client here recently. Um, what are you doing right now to keep yourself in shape, to stay prepared for any opportunities that may arise? Um, are you a 3 day a week guy, 5 day a week guy, 7 day a week guy?
Five,
Kind of take us through an entire week with Ryan. What do you do? Do you work on a lot of field work? Is it weight room work? Is it recovery? Is it speed and agility? Just kind of take us through your week.
I'm 5'5" bare minimum. Right now, I'm working with this guy, a guy from Alaska that has played overseas, has played in the GFL, that has got an opportunity in NFL camps, and he's a quarterback, and he holds these workout sessions for an older age group, whether it's college guys or high school guys, or guys staying in shape for their pro season, like me. 5 days a week, so I get on there 5 days a week. The sessions last for anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. But prior to that, I'll get there early. About it depends on the day. I can either get there about an hour and a half early, just to work out and get loose, or 30 minutes early to get warmed up, and then stay after for about an hour and a half to lift weights, and then now since I'm gearing back up more and more, I'm normally like a 6 day week guy. On the 6th day, I'll go stretch and get on a bike, and then just get loose, just to loosen my muscles, and maybe hit a couple of jump ropes, but nothing that's too intense. Um, Generally, I get some, what is the word? Uh, Muscular endurance is what I've
Right.
been working on, just because based on my game is predicated. I'm fast, I'm quick, and I'm long, and I like to and I get up to speed pretty quick, and I do get out my routes pretty well, and I believe that's the biggest advantage to my game offensively. So I try to just work a lot on balance, you know, for like run after the catch wise, breaking tackles. Some also a kick returner, so just a lot of agility, a lot of speed. Even when I'm lifting weights, it's a lot of power cleans, jump squats, explosive movements, things like that. Of course, I get in my bench press, but generally I like to aim higher reps, and still relatively heavy weight, but I like to push the amount of reps as high as possible.
Okay. I got you. So knowing that you're a 5 day a week guy, what do you focus on when it comes to the recovery side of things? Do you do a lot of yoga, cryotherapy? What kind of things do you do to take care of your body on the recovery side?
I utilize the bicycle a lot, just from having been through physical therapy a lot. And when I was in junior college, actually, I was a student assistant trainer. Since I worked with the trainer, like with speed work, and me and him got pretty close. So I was always just nitpicking things from him, just learning, because he was the best trainer I've ever had. So just nitpicking a lot of things. And one thing that works for me is just getting on the bike, getting my legs loose, loosening up my hamstrings, getting in the pool, getting in the pool, even if it's swimming a couple of laps, just lounging, just sitting and relaxing in the jacuzzi, just letting my muscles release and whatnot. I utilize the ice bath also, and a lot of stretching too, like a lot of stretching that I've just learned in physical therapy.
Nice,
Band
very
work.
nice. Now, a lot of times coaches want to know these things, and I've not really made a concerted effort to ask, but I know it's something I need to do a better job at. Have you had any kind of major injuries through your high school or college playing days? Any torn ACLs, MCLs, broken bones, torn ligaments, tendons, etc.?
Thankfully, I've never tore anything. I just the biggest injury I've had was a sprained MCL. When I was in junior college, I was actually playing baseball and football. It was when I was in the baseball season after the football season, and then I had strained my MCL. And then my graduate transfer year out of Wachita, I had an ankle sprain that just got worse just because I had played on it, but nothing to my knowledge or anything. And then since I've been to the doctor, it's been torn or anything like that. Just pulled hamstrings a couple of times just from playing from high school to now still, just a couple of pulled hamstrings and sprained ankles. Nothing that's I've never had any surgery.
Okay. Good. That's a good thing. Knock on wood, and pray to God
Yeah,
that never happens.
definitely.
Pray you have a good, healthy career. Are you
Most definitely.
involved in any kind of community service efforts currently? Being in between opportunities, college to pro, or if you're not, are there things that you've read about, seen, heard about, etc., and you've told yourself, when I become a professional athlete, this is something I want to get involved in, or I want to make my mark on. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I definitely help out with like youth sports, refereeing and coaching, things like that. But I definitely want to get, um, if I was awarded the platform, I would just help a lot of kids get to college. Like a lot of high school athletes, like you said, are misinformed just about certain things, and then exactly like how the lifestyle like is just going from high school to college. And I would also like to help. I just know a couple of people that I grew up with were very talented, very good kids and hardworking, but due to their home situations, they weren't able to, be able to get to practice or afford gear or just weren't in the best environment, the most healthy environment. So just help kids in situations like that, just putting them in the best environments possible to giving them the highest success rate as possible. Certainly things like that.
So, is there any other things that you've thought about? Like, I don't know, or ever partaken in Habitat for Humanity, or um,
I've been involved in the church. I was an usher in the church for growing up throughout my whole life and singing in the church choir. I've definitely helped participate in a couple of drives, especially in college. Um,
have you taken part in anything with your father? Let's kind of touch on that real quick. Your dad's military. Um, have you ever thought about getting involved in any kind of veteran efforts, or have you ever heard him talk about those kinds of things, or
yeah,
have those
definitely.
out to you, or
He and his he and his fraternity, they do something once a month at least for the veterans down in Mountain View, and they just serve all types of food. Like a lot of them will make food, whether it could be anything from chicken to like pieces of steak and burgers and things like that, and they'll just bring it down to the community and stuff like that. I've helped them with that a couple of times. Mainly when I've worked with my dad has been in the community of youth sports because my dad's still a coach to this day. Still, even though he does no longer coaches me, just still very involved with the kids. Whether it's baseball, baseball is the only thing he coaches right now. But just being around them and being sort of a mentor in a sense, just talking to them like what they have going on personally in their lives and helping them in any way I can, whether that's a ride, whether it's like helping them with money for food or just training or, that's the most, to the most extent of my community service has been with the youth,
I
certainly. But I
got
would
you.
definitely like to get around to the military side more consistently like my dad does.
I didn't know if you'd had a chance to think about that, or maybe see any of the veteran efforts. Being a military dependent, a lot of times that becomes a big deal to them, just like their parents and people around them. Um, have you experienced a lot of base life, or being on and off military bases, or are you kind of
My
kept
dad,
away from that, or
yeah, my parents retired when I was very young, but I still got the experience just from I've been on base very often still. I've never gotten the opportunity to live on base to my memory. I was so young, but I
yeah?
was still very close to my friends who parents were still in the military. So, and then my dad was still active over there, just going out there to work out or just for a various amount of things. So, I did get to experience the base life more than the average person.
Sure. So, coming from a military family, having been a college athlete, wanting to become a professional athlete, obviously, professional athletes are role models. They are an inspiration to not only the youth athletes, adults, adult athletes, just people in general. Um, Given all those things, how important is it to you, um, the image that you portray, um, for them as an athlete, as a future professional athlete? How important is that to you?
Extremely important. It's something my dad's always made me conscious of just growing up. So I wouldn't say it's anything. It's a new mindset because it's something my dad's been you know programming me with, like hitting me over the head with since I was a kid. You never know who's watching. You never know when your opportunity can come, or you never know who you could affect negatively or positively just by the smallest things to what you say or what you do or how you treat one person that can get to the next person. And that's why I say you should always just treat people how you want to be treated and things like that. And when you just follow like those rules and those principles, you'll become second nature, I suppose. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it's nothing I've ever been. Obviously, you're conscious of it when you go out that you know you should maybe just think twice about something, but it's not too how I say too foreign to me just because I've been doing it for a while.
sure. Football's over. Cleats are hung up. Final down is played. Final touchdown pass is caught. Where does Ryan go from there?
I'm helping my dream has always been to help people, so I definitely want to, like I said, get involved with a lot of like high school, college kids that just been where I've been and help them go further than I've ever went on and off the field. Just giving them everything I've learned along the way and that I'm still learning today that could help them out as much as possible. So just being helpful in the community, being helpful to the people around me, being helpful to my family. Just helping anybody that's willing to listen, that needs it. So
Last thing, we're going to wrap this up because I know you're pressed for time. We're right about where I promised we'd be. Um, Take a couple minutes here. The floor is yours for any general manager, coach, scout, player personnel director that may watch or see this or maybe watching live. Um, After they've seen your profile, your film, they've heard this interview, they've watched you speak and talk about the things that are important to you. What is it that you want them to know about you that they don't already know? That your college bio doesn't say, that this interview, your profile that I build, your film, what is it that they need to know about what Ryan Perdue brings to the table if they extend an opportunity to you and give you a chance to set foot on the field for their organization? Go ahead and take the floor. It's yours. Take about 2 minutes and just basically sell yourself.
well, when you get give me the opportunity to join your club, join your roster, you're not only getting a good football player, you're getting a very good teammate, a very good young man, a very good human being. And you could ask anybody that's coached me or been my teammates at any of the schools I went to, from Coach SB to Coach Dancy. Um, they will tell you that it's hard to point to somebody else and say that guy works harder than Ryan Perdue. It's really really hard to find somebody that works harder than me. And if you do, you can't say we're not neck and neck so far as work ethic. I'm a great teammate. I've played every single role on the team. I've been the star. I've been the co-star. I've been the important role player. I've been the sometimes role player. I've been the guy that sometimes get in the game. I've been the guy that doesn't get in the game at all and just has to support his teammates. And I've always kept a positive mindset in every single role that I've played. So I'm able to appreciate the game and appreciate the function of a team on the fullest level, on the fullest spectrum. And I know that every single guy literally is important on the roster. If you're on the roster, you're important. That sounds very cliche, but until you've been every guy on the roster, you wouldn't really understand. So I've gotten that perspective, so I can really, which I feel like, which makes me a better teammate. And football is the ultimate team sport. Everybody has to be on the same page in order to win a championship. So when you're building a championship team, that's why, an additional reason I feel like I'm a very, very good piece. Um, so far as on the field, I'm a very, very good route runner. I have deceptive speed, even though it doesn't look like I'm running as fast. I'm moving, just my longer strides. I'm a vertical threat, taller guy who's very good run after the catch, and I'm very coachable. My dad's being in the military and being a coach. Just I've always learned to just take coaching. They're in that position for a reason. Just take the coaching in. If there's something that you don't understand or don't necessarily agree with, there's a respectable way to approach it. But I'm just great teammate, very coachable, love the game of football, willing to do whatever it takes to win, and I mean that.
Okay, fair enough. Tell them how they can find you on social media.
You can find me at social media. I'm on Facebook, Ryan Perdue, and I'm getting more and more hit with the social media on the Instagram. I'm on Instagram also at Ryan T Perdue. Perdue is spelled Perdue. I don't have a Twitter, and I'm not too active on my Instagram. Facebook is where I'm the most active, but I'm getting more and more acclimated to being active on Instagram and whatnot. And also, you could reach my email at ryanperdueak@gmail.com. And
Okay.
then, yes, sir. Then,
All
whoever's
right.
willing to give me an opportunity, you will not be disappointed. I'll take full advantage of the opportunity. Be very grateful for it.
I'm sure those opportunities will come very quickly. Believe me. There's a lot of time left this year, and I have no doubt that some opportunities will come down the pipe soon. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying not to hold you over too long. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier.
It's
I'll try to
okay.
work through some of those here in a few minutes and fix some of those. But thank you so much for anybody that did tune in. I did see some people tuning in during the broadcast there. If you want to see his profile with his film and interview and everything, it'll be up and posted on our website. That website address is scrolling down at the bottom of your screen right now. HG Sports with an S, scouting.com. You can find us on all the different social media platforms. You can access those directly from our website as well. Again, thank you so much to Ryan. Really appreciate it. I know you got a training session you need to get to, so I'll let you take off and head that way. But again, thank you to everybody that tunes in and watches. Thank you for the coaches and scouts that do take time to evaluate these guys and extend opportunities. We will be looking forward to hearing from you with any potential opportunities in the coming weeks. And until we have another one of these, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much, and we're signing off.
Thanks again, Coach. All right.
And that's